Oh.
Oh, although I don't know how that's gonna go, but we try.
All right, just getting this Zoom set up here.
We're not a super, I was talking to
Oh,
them personally,
nice.
because they were actually interacting with leadership, so. Good practice, something, yeah.
Yes, it's good practice. Sometimes it's like,
Here, hand me Roger,
I'll myself out there because I just feel nervous until I do something the first time.
Yes.
And then once I've done it one time, I'm like, okay, I can do this.
I'm gonna sit right here.
My husband.
You wanna sit here?
Oh, no, sorry. Okay.
Can you see up here? Now?
And
You want to be able to see up here.
He's like, give it a check, but he think, he's like, I went on, he's like, I can tell you. Yeah, right, that's fine, what you do, you're like, wow. Yeah. Oh, well, or just turn this thing around.
Yeah, that's fine.
Do you want a table?
It looks
So we got this. We're gonna keep turning this. Okay. Is that okay? Can you still see it?
Looks like I need to.
All right. Well, thanks for coming, everybody. I'm pleased with our turnout today. Oh, yeah, because it was kind of short notice, so sorry about that on this training, but thanks for coming. I want to first introduce to a couple new people here today. We've got Devin. He's one of our new agents. He just got licensed. He already works in sales, so he's excited to use his sales skills in real estate. So everybody say hi to Devin today at some point. And then not new is Mr. Michael Caldwell with Movement Mortgage. So he's here visiting. Michael, did you want to share anything about market conditions or anything new for movement you wanted
Yeah,
to?
I've got a small PowerPoint. You want me to do that at
Oh.
the end or?
It is up to you. You could do it now if you want
Okay.
to. I can just disconnect mine, but then it won't, well, the Zoom won't record his
I can just,
PowerPoint.
I don't have to. If it's too much.
No. You can put it up here. We'll
Okay.
just connect your computer. If you have, does he have the right connector?
Yeah, I was just gonna go over, some market conditions and what to expect this year.
Let's see what kind of holes he's got on his computer here. What you got? Do you have
I think on this side. maybe right here.
HDMI? Okay, you can do that. I don't want to mess up your computer. I think that's HDMI. Yeah. And then that's it here. Launch it. Cool. That helps you.
Yeah.
Right. My precious.
All right, can y'all see that?
Yeah.
All right, cool. So I don't know if anyone was able to get on the call. I'll put the recording in the Facebook page.
Oh, okay.
Sorry.
Just one thing. I know.
Unbelievable. I cannot believe that. Golly.
Listen to something.
No, it's all good. I just got the PowerPoint from that presentation. I'm just gonna hit some highlights really quickly. And then if you guys have questions at the end, we can talk through that. So mortgage rates. Inflation, core inflation specifically, is a big driver in mortgage rates. And so when we see inflation come down, mortgage rates tend to follow. So this shows you kind of where we're at right now. The core CPI is what they track. And so as you can see over the past, this goes back to 2020 or 2019 all the way through June of last year. So you can kind of see how we spiked and it's on its way down. The Fed's goal is to get it down to 2%. And so all these rate hikes that you're seeing, when they increase the rates, that means they're trying to slow down people's spending habits and all that stuff to kind of get inflation down. So now that we're seeing inflation come down, we should start seeing mortgage rates come down. Here's kind of what the expectations are with Fed cuts. So now that they're seeing them come down, they are now talking about cutting rates instead of increasing rates. So the next Fed meeting is coming up soon. Sorry. The next Fed meeting is March 20th. And based on, I don't know how they come up with this data, but there's a 68% chance in March that they'll make their first cut in rates. And then the expectation is really May 1st is to do another rate cut. And they're expecting, I mean, it's been said between five to seven rate cuts next year. So as you can see here, there's a 56% chance of a 50 basis point cut, 91% chance of a 50 bips cut in June. So we are expected to see the Feds cut some rates. Historical data here with recessions, anytime for the majority of the parts except for 08, which was kind of a whole different situation than we're in now. As you can see, the gray bar indicates a recession. And then the yellow highlights is indicating mortgage rates. So every time there's a recession, we see mortgage rates come down. So what is the forecast for this year? So obviously we don't all have a crystal ball, but what we are expected to see is rates between the mid 5% to high 6%. I'll tell you now, I quoted someone out yesterday on a conventional loan. They have great credit, 5% down. I mean, it was 6.437, I think is what I quoted them. So, I mean, had we talked back in October, November, we were in 8% rate. So we're seeing rates come down. Still seeing some buy downs, like 1.0 buy downs, 2.1 buy downs if we're getting some seller credit, which is really helping buyers take advantage of a lower rate and payment temporarily.
Seeing less of those, Michael, because sellers aren't giving.
A little bit. I mean, it kind of depends on the situation, but yeah, I had one yesterday that gave full 3%. So but it just kind of depends on the situation,
Yeah.
maybe how long the home's been sitting on the market and whatnot. The 10-year treasury, again, this is a thing that we look at daily, and we want the 10-year to come down. When the 10-year treasury comes down, that mortgage rates tend to kind of follow that scale. So as of this morning, we're hovering around 4.0 on the 10-year. So we want that to come down below 4. But we're expected to see it between 3% to 4.4 throughout the year. Inventory. This is kind of the graph over the past several years. But as you can see on 2022, or I'm sorry, yeah, I mean, we've had very low inventory the past couple of years. However, this year, with rates coming down, we're expected to see a little bit more inventory than last year. We think rates are going to, justify people selling. I think baby boomers are 54% of folks that want to sell because they want to downsize, but they refied back in 20 and 21. They're sitting on a 2 or 3% rate, and they just can't justify buying a smaller home and going to a much higher rate. But if we see rates continue to come down to 6s and 5s, we feel like that will help them justify making a move. So that'll certainly help with inventory this year. Appreciation. This is just nationwide. Probably going to see a little bit stronger here in Charlotte. I just saw something yesterday that Charlotte's number 7 in the top real estate markets in the country. But nationwide appreciation is 4.5 to 5%, which is pretty strong. And then transaction volume this year should be up between 15 to 20% from last year. So take your numbers, what you did last year, and expect a little bit more of an increase this year, which is good for all of us. And then one last slide. Those of you who are familiar with movement know that we take close to half our profit as a company, and we pour it into a foundation that we have. And our goal with the foundation is to build charter schools and put them in neighborhoods that suffer upward mobility. Here in Charlotte, we have 5 schools that we've funded through our profits. And Casey, our CEO, his goal is to do 100 schools nationwide in the next 10 years. So one thing that I did is I went back, and I've only been here a short period of time with you folks, but I went back with all the loans that we've funded together between Movement and Realty One Group. And this is how much we have been able to benefit towards the schools with the profits of the loans that we've closed with you guys. So we've been able to provide 750 backpacks to students for student education. So the call, basically the whole cost of 4 students to go to school, and then equivalent to 300 textbooks as well. So I know you guys might not see it and feel it, but when we do close loans, you guys are also impacting these children who are getting a great education and helping them essentially, to get out of their situation, hopefully by getting a good education and moving on. So just wanted to show that, and pretty cool to partner with you guys and know that we're all making an impact in other people's lives. So
I didn't know you were up to 5 schools.
What are the schools here in Charlotte?
so we've got, I'm gonna,
Steel Creek.
But there's one over, or that part of town.
yeah, so
There
there,
is a big, I notice it every time I drive by it.
yeah, there's like, I can't remember the addresses of them all. But I think we're up to 5 in Charlotte. We're doing one in Atlanta, Charleston, Raleigh, Nashville, and we're trying to continue
And the
to
schools are usually located in like underserved.
marginalized
areas, right?
communities. Yeah, exactly. So pretty cool. I guess that's our why as a company.
Are all the schools named Movement School or like?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's cool.
Yep, they're all.
They're like all red and gray, you'll see.
Yeah.
That's their.
And it's yeah, they're charter schools, right? So the kids you see here, they we provide them uniforms, and they get, I think, 2 hot meals a day. Part of their education is financial literacy, even in the elementary school. So that's one thing I'm surprised that not all schools do now, but they're teaching these kids financial literacy in the elementary ages right now, which is huge. So pretty cool there. So that's all I got.
Thanks for sharing.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you guys.
Been pretty much some good news, since the end of last year till now.
Yeah, it's gonna be a good
Rates
year.
and everything.
Be a good year.
Yeah. Well, I wanted to let you go first in case you needed to leave or
Oh, no.
something, Michael. Yeah, you can. I know this doesn't apply to you that much, but thanks for staying.
Yeah.
All right, so what we're going to do today is some of you are going to be on different levels of understanding with all of this stuff. Some of you have maybe been through a transaction and already done this, but we're just going to kind of today point out easiest and best practices for using Skyslope, which is our transaction management system, but it's also where you create forms, and it's also where you can send your forms to get signatures from your clients. So what I'm going to do today is, if you have your computer, you can do it along with me. If you don't, you can just kind of watch along. But we're going to create a file and put some forms in there. We're going to fill in some forms, and then we're going to send those forms to a person for signature. And then we're going to take those forms and put them into Skyslope as a transaction. So we're basically kind of taking it as far as we can, and I'm going to explain how you need to complete your transactions in Skyslope, and Amanda's going to help with that part, so that you can get paid at the end of your transaction. Because if you don't have everything in there, you can't get paid yet. So if you're following along with me, go ahead and log into your one login, And as you can see, we have all of our tiles here. Sometimes people forget we have these frequent tiles here. If you don't see what you're looking for, make sure you click on all of your tiles to find what you're looking for. But we're gonna click on Skyslope to get started. Okay. So this is the first page of Skyslope. You can see here where you would create a transaction, where you would create a listing, which is different than a transaction. You just follow a little bit of a different path. You can go to you can send forms for digital signatures here. And then I do want to point out working documents, which is, we were just talking earlier about looking for certain forms that you need to complete your transactions, or maybe you need the W-9 to send for a referral fee. You're going to find that here in working documents. So for example, Leslie was looking for the W-9. So just make sure you click on, you switch over to Office documents so that you can access all the Office documents. And we have right here the W-9. If you need to send that for a referral, you literally just download it and send it over. Okay. And we're going to update that soon to 2024. Most people are okay with 2023, but we're going to change it out soon.
Yeah, mine all say 22.
22.
All the documents.
Hmm.
It's just the date they were add.
That's just when they were put in there. Yeah. Yep.
And that does not mean that was gonna it's just.
No, it's all has to do with the firm. Yeah, because the money they're sending is coming to the firm. So that's why they're asking you for that.
In the resolution.
Got it. No, this.
Okay, and then if you also need South Carolina contracts, if you're not a member of the South Carolina Association of Realtors, you don't have the contracts loaded into your forms, which I'm going to show you in a minute, you can find all of those documents here. You then have to fill them in yourself. It's, a little bit more cumbersome, but they're all here for you should you need it. And another really important form in here is the closing transaction form. This is a firm form. It's not a North Carolina form or anything. And this is how you're going to be closing out your transactions here. It's asking you for some information about the transaction, and you're going to be uploading that into Skyslope. And that's how you will eventually get.
There is a checklist item for it.
Yes.
So
it makes
you'll
you
know you need it.
enter it. Yeah.
And there are no wrong answers on this form. This form is just a communication tool between you and me so that I know how to break out your commission. But you can write notes all over it.
Yeah. If you're
There-
like,
there are no
I can't
answers.
explain it, Amanda, call me. You can put
There are no
that
wrong
note on
answers.
there if you need to. But it's helpful because it has like the transaction fees here, so you don't have to remember what those are.
Mhm.
You can fill that all out here. And this is a fillable form, so it's pretty easy to fill out.
And you can always go into Working Docs once, download this to your computer, and then just use it.
But if you lose it, this is where it is. So all sorts of goodies in here for you.
Sorry, I had to sign it. So you're under working docs and Skyslope, right? now?
But make sure you click on Office documents up at the top. See here, Catherine?
Office docs.
Yeah.
Perfect.
And what were you gonna
I was gonna say, once you have that filled out, and then you're sending it, and you're saving it to your computer, but then you're sending it just as an email.
You're gonna
It's a
add it to
checklist
Skyslope.
item. It's a checklist item in
Download
Skyslope.
it into that.
And I'll show you that when we get there.
It goes in all transactions.
Because I was here at the homepage, I wanted to point that out.
So, I wasn't sure how to fill it out, but I was thinking of a referral part where you don't really set up and have like all the checklists and stuff that you're.
It's still a checklist item, even in the referral type of transaction. So every transaction type, which we'll look at, when you get into the transaction, you pick the checklist type. It's in every single checklist.
Okay, so I'm gonna show, there's like kind of different ways to get to different components here. I'm gonna show you the way that I like to get to what I need to do. But if you have a different way, or if you have a better suggestion, Amanda, I'm open to that as well. There's definitely, I like to come here to Skyslope and I go up here to this little apps section here. And if I'm got a new client, I'm going to forms first because I have to create some forms.
You are not creating a transaction or listing first. Because we'll show you, we'll connect them later. Always go to forms.
So I had to switch over here because it shows me everybody in the firm's files, but you don't have that issue right here, guys. You're only gonna have your files, okay? So here I am at the beginning of forms and I'm going to create a file. I've just met a new client. They're gonna be a buyer client. So today, in the interest of time, there are plenty of forms we could send this person and we could talk about what those might be. But today we're just going to send them the working with real estate agents and the buyer agency, okay? If we had just met this client and they were making an offer on a property, then I might be doing a lot of other forms as well, like the offer paperwork, and I'd be uploading disclosures and things like that, but we would be here very long if we did all of those forms today and we were, answering questions. So if you have any questions about those forms or which one to use or how to fill them out, we're always here to answer questions for you. And actually, if you're attending RevUp, if you're one of our newer agents, Brian does go through, takes a step-by-step, filling out offer paperwork and all of that. So, all right, so today we're just going to click on create a file. And I'm working with a buyer. And this person is not a company or a trust or an entity. They are just a person. If they were an entity, you would fill out the organization's name and who the contact person is and their email, but this is not an entity. We're just going to say this person is.
If you have an
Buyer.
entity, if there is an LLC, you have to have a person's name and they have to sign their name on your documents. They can't sign the entity name. It has to be a person's name.
Mhm. Good tip. And then you are going to want to put this person's email address in here. I'm going to use my email address today because you are going to be sending this person documents. And you guys can create this file with me too. Like you're not hurting anything by creating files. Like we
Put
can,
our name in there.
yeah, just whatever you want. Now this person is just a new buyer that I've met, so I don't have a property yet for this person. But if you do have a property that you're perhaps writing an offer on, always do the import MLS data because it's going to pull over a ton of information that you're not going to have to fill out later. So always do that if there is a property. And you can choose to name the file whatever you want. In this case, I'm going to name it the person's name. But if it had a property, I'd probably name it the property address. That's like usually what I do. Some people like to put the person's last name and the property address. It's just whatever works for your organization in your mind. And then we do have some templates here that contain a bunch of the normally used forms for certain kinds of transactions. You good, Catherine? Something happened.
I put something in. Oh, anyway. I don't know.
Okay.
Sorry.
Just go back to Skyslope and then, okay.
I'm sorry.
But I don't typically use the templates because a lot of times it brings over forms that I don't necessarily need for that transaction. I just like to build the transaction myself by selecting the forms that I need for that particular situation.
But you've been doing this a long, long time. You know which
Exactly.
forms you want.
Yes.
If you don't see the ROG Revolution templates there, you can see there's four
This
on the
one.
bottom.
Mm-hmm.
Because she picked, you picked buyer, so those are the 4 buyer options.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't see those, let me know and I will make the
Yes.
changes necessary.
Devin doesn't see those.
No, I just see your.
Okay, I'll
She'll make sure you get access to those. Can I not unclick that now that I've clicked it?
Five.
So we're all
Are they
seeing
resolution?
different numbers of templates.
Are any of them RG
Some
resolution?
of them are, yes. Yeah, okay.
Oops, I messed that up. Sorry, guys. Fill it out again real quick. I couldn't unclick that template once I clicked it. Oh, and this is putting my address in here because I put my email address, I suppose. So make sure you get that out of there if you are doing this with me. Okay. Again, there's the templates and you can choose to use one of those if you would like to. Oh, it's making me put a,
Resale buyer.
ROG results is another ROG office.
hmm. Oh, I must have already done this before, so it-
I wouldn't, just because we don't control what's in there. I mean, you can take a look at what's in there. It's, but that, results, she's the one that owns the Winston-Salem office and the Banner Elk office. And
Still North Carolina form.
Still North Carolina forms,
Oh,
that's
I
why
see.
you're seeing it.
Oh, okay, okay. So we probably click on our Roger, North Carolina.
okay, so once I filled out that information, I said create the file. I am now brought to where all the forms are. Now, I have a long list of forms because my library contains the North Carolina forms and the South Carolina forms. I think some of us are working on getting dual licensed, but some of us are dual licensed in here. Is anybody else in here a member of the South Carolina Association of Realtors? So do you have these forms in your Skyslope? Okay,
And in the middle of the drop down where it says all libraries, you can switch.
yes.
So Allison, that may be something I need to talk to you about, is making sure I have all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I've
'Cause
got-
you are a
I've got
member.
my South Carolina and everything, but I don't have access to any of that.
I can send you instructions.
Oh, okay.
But are you, so that's a second, that's another step is paying the $140 a year to
Yeah.
be a member of the South Carolina Association of
Did
Realtors.
that
Okay.
as well.
So we just gotta add
Oh, you
your,
did it? Oh, you did it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, then,
To pay $140.
Yes.
SC, and
Yes.
then you can have all the forms on here.
then you get all the forms. It is worth it to me if you do enough business in South Carolina. I like having the forms in my library rather than having to go back to that working documents and pull all the forms out and fill them in by some other means.
Yes.
It's worth it to me to have them all available to myself here.
Yes.
You just have to make that decision. If you join it in the middle of the year, I know they prorate it, so maybe if you think you're gonna have some South Carolina business coming up and you wanna join it, they'll prorate it. But then on a yearly basis, you do have to pay the 140 to keep it active. But for today's purposes, I'm just gonna narrow it down to the North Carolina form, so we're not seeing all those other
And you go
forms.
through it to browse libraries.
I just clicked on this button to minimize what I had in there. Okay, so you can choose to find your forms any way that works for you. They're all listed alphabetically. Sometimes I don't remember the exact name or word that the form starts with, so I usually use this search bar up here to find things. So the two forms that we're gonna add today are the working with real estate agents and the buyer's agency. So I'm just gonna type in buyer and see what forms that gives me. So there's a lot that have the word buyer in them.
Did it set up in South Carolina?
how to pay them?
Yeah.
No, I heard.
Oh.
So.
Oh, okay. Yeah, we have to add that into your libraries there. Amanda will help with
So
that.
basically, email Amanda, she'll send me the info. and then we'll do it.
I could probably help you with it today, Kathy. Okay, so once you found the form that you want, it took me a while to stop doing this, but if you just click on it, it's just gonna show you the form, just to make sure, oh, is this the form you want? look at it, make sure that's the one you want, exclusive buyer agency. Yep, that's the one I want. So you have to actually click on the add button to add it to your file. So just make sure you click that. So if you see down here, it says, well, I think I can move this over, but not sure. Yes, I have one form so far, so now I need to add one more.
So you did the exclusive buyer agency agreement 201.
Mm-hmm. That's the one you're typically going to use. And now I'm gonna add the working with real estate agents, and I'm gonna,
So this says,
pick-
would you like to create a new file or do an existing file?
did you create a file?
I just clicked add.
Did you do the part before where I said make up a name and use your email address?
Oh, okay, so put it in me.
Yeah.
Okay, okay.
Okay, so now I'm gonna add working with real estate agents. I'm just gonna look at this to make sure that's what I want. And just so you know, all the commercial forms are in this list as well. So sometimes I'll accidentally click on the commercial version of the form, and sometimes looking at it helps me realize, yeah, I clicked the wrong one. So just double check what your form is. Because we have different forms for commercial and residential.
Yeah, please don't use a commercial form.
I know sometimes you can't find the right form that you think you want, and you're like, I'll just use the commercial one, but that's not
Ask,
gonna work.
ask and snip.
Just ask one of us, okay? All right, so I've got those two forms loaded, so I'm gonna press next. Exclusive buyer agency, it's form 201.
Like, I'm at. Fine, actually.
Oh, okay, a real person? Okay.
So, the student starter out.
Yes, and as we know, we're supposed to offer them the working with real estate agents form as soon as we have like a meaningful discussion about intentions and finances and things like that. You can always send that form all by itself once you have that conversation with people. But let's say I just had coffee with this client and they've decided that we want to work together. We did have a conversation about, price ranges and finances and things like that. So I've just sat down on my computer and I'm going to send them these forms because I want to go ahead and have the buyer agency signed with them and make sure I've checked off the box of sending them the working with real estate agents form. Okay, so I've got these two forms here. I'm gonna check on them, check the box, because now I'm gonna fill the forms out. Now, at this point here, if you needed to add some additional documents that were not listed in your list of forms, okay, this is where you would do that. You could upload additional documents that you've saved on your computer. An example would be disclosures from the MLS, the property disclosure, the mineral oil gas rights. Because you're going to need your client to sign those as well, but they're obviously not listed in your fillable list of forms.
And you just have two there, but I have a whole bunch. I already have those sitting in this little folder.
Did you pick a template?
But they're there.
You might have picked a template.
Okay.
Did you just click the two that I'm talking
Yes,
about?
ma'am.
Okay. Good.
Now, when you get several forms in here
Mhm.
that you wanna do, is it better to see where you've highlighted both of them to kind of fill up at the same time? Is it better to send one form at a time? Just so you don't, if you have problems with it, like not signed correctly, or you've got a direction on it where you're not correcting every single thing and sending them constantly the whole package back to everybody, like to your client.
What I'll usually do is I send them all the forms. I mean, let's say I'm making an offer and I've got to get all these forms signed. I've got an offer, I've got a buyer's agency, I got working with real estate, I got all these things in there. I would send them all the forms, and then if for some reason we didn't discuss some term or something, they were like, oh, I wanted to put $1,000 earnest money, not 500 earnest money or whatever. There's a discrepancy in the forms and what we really want in the forms. I typically have them go ahead and sign everything that I've sent. And then I throw that form in the trash, the one that's incorrect. And then I send them a revised version of just that one form. Because if you've sent them an envelope of 7 documents and they've taken, the time to sign all of them, and you've taken the time to fill them all in and send them all to them, it's gonna be, in the interest of time, it's just gonna be easier for them to sign it, even though it's incorrect, and you to just dispose of it and then send them a new version of it, that one form. That's how I do it. But you could choose to redo the whole thing over if you wanted to, but
They're not all just maybe saved in here.
Well, your
They are.
form,
Where
your
you could
form
just
will be filled in.
Just change it and then resend everything again.
yeah, you could do that, but I'm saying if they already have like 6 out of 7 of the forms are exactly the way they're supposed to be, just have them sign the whole envelope. And then when you receive back the forms, you just don't use that one that's incorrect and you send them a new one.
I'm just wondering, it's just not saved in there how we sent it,
It is, but you can go back and change it.
and then,
That's right here where we are right now. You can always come back to this pane and make changes to the forms that you already have in your file.
right, so why don't you just change it and then just resend everything correct? Because I don't really want to ask the buyer to just sign it. I know it's incorrect, but
Mhm.
sign it and then I'll resend you. Can I just go back in here and just change that one thing and then just say, delete that email, I'm gonna resend it right now? I mean.
You could, yeah, that might be a better way to do it. That's just not the way I've done it, but
And I just don't see how that's any harder than. throwing
you're
away
probably
a
right.
page and stuff.
Like I said, we all have our ways
Yeah,
of
yeah,
doing
okay,
things.
Okay, I'm just.
It is all saved in here, yes.
So, yeah, so I wouldn't have to redo everything. I just have to go in
You'd
there,
have to
transfer
go in
everything.
here and cancel this signature or signing and then start a new one, but it wouldn't be that much work because it's already filled.
Okay, I wouldn't lose that, okay.
When you first send out something like as an envelope, like let's say you wanna make an offer.
Yeah.
It's not gonna be correct. Everything will be correct, but it will have maybe changes because the seller says that,
Right.
I don't want your earnest money, I want more due diligence. And then you just change that.
That-
You're not gonna send that, hey, this is incorrect, but sign it. It's not, it's probably not gonna happen like that.
Okay.
It never happened to me, but all those changes for the actual offer, it's probably gonna have changes,
And then you
either
have to change it.
yeah,
and
either
it's all in there.
but it's
you
only
can-
just one form, you just go
Mhm.
back, you just basically just like click on whatever line you need to change it, like different
Yeah.
number or different closing date or whatever, and then just click on that and send it, and you will see that all that.
Yeah, you're exactly right. That
It's a lot-
rarely happens where the initial paperwork is
I
incorrect.
think
I
it
mean,
just sounds more complicated.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's,
Okay.
it's not that's complicated.
Once you fill in the fields are saved and forever, and then you just change one of the fields in order to resend it again.
Right, so this is where I'm filling out the fields, okay? Okay, so we've got a buyer agency here. Again, there are different ways to fill these forms out. I'm sure we all learned a certain way in our classes, and you'll learn different ways from your mentor or other agents. I'm gonna fill this out the way that I typically fill it out and think is a best practice. And Amanda, who is our compliance person, can chime in if I say something crazy, but so it's already obviously got filled in your buyer's name. And remember that these contracts and forms are not really between you and the buyer, it's between the firm and the buyer. So that's why the firm is listed right here. My person's gonna be looking for residential property. And then for general location, I usually put the county that they're looking in. You could just put, Charlotte, but I try to be a little bit more specific if I can. Yeah, sometimes I put surrounding area. This is just so that you had a conversation with the person about what they're kind of looking for. Okay, so this is going to have so this agreement can be between you and the buyer for a single property, or it can be they're gonna buy multiple properties with you under this agreement. Typically, it's one property, but sometimes you have like an investor that wants to buy multiple properties, so you would click the box for, they may purchase more than one property under this agreement with you. So I'm gonna click single property, and I'm gonna put an expiration date for this buyer's agency, so again, you can make it a longer buyer's agency if you want to. You can make it for a year if you want to, but I usually do it for about 3 months. And I put a note on my calendar, your buyer's agency is expiring. Maybe it's a good time if they haven't found a property by that point to have a conversation about, are we going to extend the buyer's agency? You could do 6 months. It's really whatever you feel comfortable with this client putting in here. If you're making an offer today, hopefully within 3 months, they'll have found something, but it doesn't always work out like that. Okay, so now the next part is about compensation. There are some agents that do ask for a retainer fee at the beginning of a relationship with a buyer. It just depends on how you run your business, if you like to ask for that upfront. I've talked with many agents that do. For the purpose of this form, I'm not going to be filling in that part.
What's a typical retainer fee if they do that? $1,000, $500, $200?
All of those would be
Okay.
appropriate, yeah.
Okay.
We have some agents that do that.
At least 1,000.
Because
Okay.
the purpose of the fee is, so that if you're working with this buyer, and sometimes with listings, they ask for it as well, you're putting in a lot of time and effort. You want to make sure that you're compensated at some point for that. With listings, you could use it to do, repairs or improvements to the house, or you could say it's for marketing purposes. It's really however you want to set up your business
Some
and
skin in the game.
yeah, some skin in the game.
Now, a retainer, of course, is typically taken off the commission at the end.
Right.
Mhm.
But if you are doing an additional marketing fee, like if you're gonna do 2.5% plus $1,000 for marketing fees, make sure you're clear on here that it's a plus or not.
So here's what I typically fill out in this section here, and this is kind of the section that's been all like in the news and everything recently with the lawsuits and everything about buyer compensation. This is the part where you need to have a conversation with your clients that the compensation due to you, if it is not received from the seller of the property, then you would be looking to the buyer to complete the compensation that's due to you. And this is the section of the form that explains that to them, but you have to really also explain it to them. Don't just assume that the form is going to explain it to them. I put 2 to 3% compensation due to me because obviously it's fluctuating in the MLS, what's, offered. This is the amount that I'm happy receiving from this client. So obviously, again, this could be different for different people. Some people are okay getting 1%, some people need 3.5%. It just, whatever your business you're running and whatever conversation you're having with your clients.
What if there's an extra bonus at a builder, extra $1,000,
Mhm.
and you put 2 to 3% in, and also additional compensation from,
Mhm.
I don't know, whatever builder or whatever, would you put that in there?
I would always qualify this and put as per offered in MLS
Mhm.
or as per offered by builder.
And if you do receive a bonus or you're expecting to get a bonus, you should always disclose that immediately to your clients.
Right.
I believe it says that in here somewhere.
If
They get
if it's
supposed to
coming from a
disclose
builder, that your client gets a copy of your compensation agreement, right? So that's.
2 to 3% is offered for MLS or builder.
I think it already says percent of the purchase price.
Dollar amount, percentage, you can put anything in there.
Yeah, she's being very detailed. It's okay, no, it's good.
Okay. This little box here just means if your buyer's gonna try and be calculating and somehow work you out of the transaction by cutting a deal with the seller 5 days after you showed them the house. This box right here protects your commission that's earned for, I usually put 45 days in this box here, just meaning like they can't cut you out of the deal within 45 days. of
I've seen
you
up to
having-
90 days.
Yeah.
I've seen all sorts of numbers.
The higher the number, the more time you're protected with this client. Okay. There are some check boxes in here for, it is highly recommended that you do share with your buyers a copy of the offer to purchase so that they, when you do get to that point with making an offer, they've at least seen it before and know what it looks like. And obviously you could talk about it in more detail when you fill out the offer. But if you check these boxes, it means that you did share that document with them. And then professional services disclosure, we all know what that is correct. It's the form where you have a conversation with them about what services they are going to pay for and order during this transaction. So that includes inspections, surveys, talking with an accountant, water testing, septic, all pest inspections, all of those kinds of things that they either need to choose they're going to do or they're not going to do. And it is actually one of the required forms in our compliance checklist. So we do require everybody to have their buyers and sellers sign this form so that we know that you've had conversation with them about all of those things.
You might as well check the box because you're gonna have them sign it.
Mhm.
That's,
So, but you wouldn't send all these with the forms right now, you would just.
Just showing them a blank copy of the.
You could.
so all of the forms should be watermarked as sample in the forms library. If they're not, let me know and I can always get you a sample watermarked copy. But the professional services, every agent does it differently. I think from having kind of a outside view,
Bird's eye
I
view.
think the best time to incorporate the professional services form into conversations is sort of towards the middle to end of due diligence period, when you are going through inspections, when you are talking about the ins and outs of the property and what you are evaluating in the property. If you wait until after due diligence, all you're doing is doing it in retrospect because there's no point, you
could have got
no
this
time,
done, but now,
right, there's no
and you
time
still
to
could
write.
get it done, but you wouldn't be
Mhm.
able to like release yourself from the property because of that result.
I
So-
don't think it's good practice to use it in the very beginning of your contract period while you are sending your client a bazillion forms. The importance of that form will get lost.
Mhm.
Um,
And you won't really know what services you're really gonna want
Right.
at that point. So I usually send it, during the due diligence
Mhm.
period when we're talking about what are we going to order here for this property. I'm not gonna check those boxes because I'm not including those forms today. But as a best practice, you could include the sample versions of those forms. And it would just be like something they don't fill out, they just see that you sent it to them.
And whenever it gets to that point anyway, they're gonna sign those forms that we. I mean, we still have to submit those forms, we're just not sending them the samples.
Right,
We
you're
just
sending them
have
the
to
actual
Have that
form.
conversation.
Mhm.
Some agents are still doing buyer packets, like, do you know anyone doing buyer folders, like, when you meet with a client, hand them something?
Mhm.
You could have sample documents
Yeah.
in there along. with
As a
everything
leave
else.
behind.
Mhm. Do people
yeah.
still use the questions about inspections brochure or anything like that? No.
I haven't seen that in a
Okay.
while.
Whatever you're giving your client to keep to
Okay.
review, you could consider putting these in.
There is a box in here for home warranties. There are some home warranty companies that pay you like a referral fee if you get the folks to sign up with the home warranty. I've never received a referral fee from a home warranty, but some people work with companies that do that. I'm putting NA. Additional provisions, because, and I read an interesting fact the other day, because this contract is, you are a party to the contract, the firm is a party to the contract, this is the one form that you can draft some provisions here in this section. They always say, oh, don't be drafting contracts because we're not attorneys. You have to work within the limits of the contracts and everything. But because you are a party to this contract, you can put some things in here. I know that some agents, they get the buyer to pay their transaction fees and they put that in here, like just special arrangements between you and that buyer would be put in this section here.
That isn't covered in another.
that you can't find another place in the form to address it. So you're not able to fill this section out here because this is a section that the buyer is going to initial. And we can talk about that when we're tagging this in the next section. I always click this box because, oh, they have to click it on the next section. I always click does not authorize the same individual agent because I don't like to do dual agency that way. I don't like to represent both sides of the deal. I would always have another agent represent that person. So, but again, it's how you want to run your business. That's your option.
As a firm, we allow.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, some firms don't. For this section here, what do you see in this section,
What is it
Amanda?
again?
The dual agency compensation.
Oh,
Because I usually put 3 to 6%.
you like putting rate.
Would be
I don't-
due to the whole firm from both sides of the deal.
I don't usually see much in there because if you're doing dual agency, then you have a listing agreement with them.
Mm-hmm.
So
This is what's due to the
Or you have a
firm.
listing agreement with somebody else, like if it's your listing, your
Mhm.
buyer buys your listing, isn't that still dual agency?
Mm-hmm.
yes, but then you have a listing agreement with that other
Yeah,
client on the other
no.
side of the deal, which already dictates your
so.
commission.
Oh, right.
Mm-hmm. You know, there's multiple things you could put in here.
If you end up doing dual agency and you're not expecting to do dual
Mhm.
agency when you sign the agency contract or agreements, then you can always make revisions.
Mhm.
And you'll probably have those conversations with your listing client and not your buyer client.
What about like percentage agreed on between the agent, seller and buyer?
Seller and buyer.
Where, is that on here?
For
or-
the dual, no, for other details, typing in there for like the dual agency compensation.
Oh, additional provisions?
No, where you just type
Go
it,
back to
Oh.
that section.
where you just put in the 3 to 6%.
Mhm.
right there.
So you're saying the relationship between,
Just asking if that's like something that would be acceptable to put in there. If it did wind up that we wound up in dual agency,
Mhm.
the description on it could be percentage agreed on between agent and buyer, so.
Oh, just a vague
Yes, that's
explanation of
safe.
it.
You could do that. You could literally just put to be determined. I mean,
Yeah. Yeah.
um,
I mean, a lot of times when you're filling this out, you don't know that that situation is going to arise.
Right.
So how could you possibly forecast what's going to be in this
unless you're
section?
putting it in with an offer.
Right,
Okay.
right.
For all of these blank spaces, best practice is to put something, whether it's NA or TBD, because if you don't, you open this document up to being revised later, you know, by hand or something, so you want to make sure you're covered. Does that make sense?
At least filling in all the blanks with
Mhm.
something that makes sense to
Pretty
you.
much the same, good practice with all contracts is
Mhm.
put something in a blank.
So you could put to,
Yes.
just TBD, to be determined.
Mhm.
Yes.
Right.
For that particular case, yes, because that one, again, that's a situation that might be agreed upon later.
Okay.
So now I'm just scrolling down to the next place where we can fill anything out, which is the last page here. You've got your buyer's information up here. The email address should already be filled out because you did that on the first page. If you want to add further information about this person, you can. I don't typically fill anything else out on there. And then down here at the bottom is all of your information. If this isn't auto-populating for you, then you need to go back to where the beginning of forms and make sure that all of your profile information is filled in correctly. You want to make sure your profile is updated at the beginning of the forms section because that's what auto-populates all of this information here. You can type it in every time if you want to, but that's a waste of time. So don't do that. Okay, so next is our very simple working with real estate agents disclosure. I typically check this box when I send this. And I check this box because I'm explaining to my buyer, if you want to purchase any property that's listed by Realty One Group Revolution, we'll have to be okay with,
By the
This
entire
box.
firm.
yeah, but the entire firm. You don't want to, exclude any of those properties from being available to you, so you do want to check this box. And then again, my information's in there. Okay, we're going to prepare this for signature now, because I'm done filling things out. I have it the way I want it. Now, I could just save this and come back to it later if I'm not ready to send it yet. So you could click that if you want to save it, but if you're ready to send it, you're gonna go ahead in here, you're gonna create the envelope.
You said prepare signature, that's what you put.
Mm-hmm. Now, remember, Ben Buyer is kind of me because I put my email address in there, and I do need to sign this. And the buyer's agent, I don't know why it doesn't automatically tag it, but you do need to sign it as well because you're the agent. So make sure that those are both saying, both of these people need to sign it. If you had a second buyer, they would also need to sign it as well. Husband and wife, or whatever the situation may be. Okay, so now we're in the DigiSign experience. This is where you tag all of the initials, signatures, dates, anything that you need the person to fill in on the document. You can also add a text field. If you maybe missed one of the blanks previously, you can write some text in on this platform, but you don't want to be using it to type in a ton of text because it's a little clunky. That's why
And it
you
won't
did
save
that.
it in the original form.
It won't save it in the original form, like you said, going back to the forms if you send them again. Right. So I've only ever done that, like if I just accidentally missed an NA or something like that. And I didn't want to go back to add all that again, so. But the beauty of this is that most of the work is already done for you. See these little boxes, it's already been tagged for you, so you don't have to add a lot of tags and signatures and things like that. But I will show you how we do that. Let's say that I needed to add a signature to this page for some reason. There's not a signature line on here, but I'm gonna make sure I'm tagging for the right person. Let's say I want my buyer to sign this page for some reason. I would make sure I was on Ben Buyer, and then I would click on signature, and I would just click down here where I want that signature to appear. And you can move it around. If you don't like where it is, you can put it over here. If you want to get rid of it, you can throw it in the trash can. So whatever you click up here, that's what it's going to tag down here. If you need to add a date, click on date, it's going to auto-populate the date. Okay. I never use time. I know South Carolina likes time, don't they? I never use time. I just use date. I want to throw that in the trash can and throw that away. If I wanted to move around the ones that were already auto-populated in here, I can do that as well. Every time you click on a different person, it switches who you're tagging for.
I think the reason you're thinking about time for South Carolina is because the due diligence form in South Carolina said something, or used to say something about due diligence ended at 5 PM on that day.
Well, their forms actually have a section for time.
Mhm.
But most of the signing platforms sign a time anyway. Whenever you sign it, it's like digitally imprinted in there somehow. So I just never use that tag is all I'm saying. Okay, so I'm gonna keep scrolling down here because I like the way that looks so far. Did I never fill in a number for that? I thought I did 45 days. Well, let's put a text field. Okay, well, let's put a text field there. So I'm gonna have to type over here and put 45 days. And just make sure I like where it shows up. There. Keep going down. I see my tags here. They're already there for me. Make sure all my blanks are filled in. Already filled in on this page. Okay, for some reason It just automatically puts the initial tags in all of these sections. But that's incorrect because you really only want it initialed up here or initialed down here.
Can't do both.
You cannot do both. So you have to throw one of these in the trash can. I put this one in the trash can because again, that would be if the person did not want to look at any Realty One Group Revolution listings. I don't know why they would want that, but that would be the only scenario where they would initial that bottom part there. And I'm gonna go ahead and click that box for the check. The check is very hard to see. I don't know if you can see, but there is a check on there. I think it looks better when
Let me
you.
go back to that. Do you all
Yeah.
understand exclusive representation? And the and what she's saying about if your client initials exclusive representation, it
Mhm.
doesn't mean that they are being exclusively represented by you. It means the entire transaction that they become a part of, they are the only ones that can be Realty One. It means the listing agent or the listing agent cannot be Realty One.
Mhm.
They can't buy a Realty One
Listing.
Revolution listing.
So do you ever see this, Amanda, on anybody's?
I
phone?
do, but it's always misinterpreted.
It's
That's why
incorrect, okay?
it's misinterpreted.
Yeah. Move this out of the way.
It's usually not a problem because
Yeah,
Doesn't happen, but, right. If it does happen, you're. gonna-
well, if they're turning in paperwork and the other listing is a Realty One Group
Yes.
Revolution listing, then it's a problem because the buyer didn't click, didn't initial the right thing. I'm sure they didn't understand what they were initialing, but that's our job to be able to explain these things to people. Okay, we're still tagged down here. Okay, it's already put in the signature for Ben, and it's already put in the date here. It's already put here for my signature and my date.
so you're
Working
just reviewing. You had very little to edit.
to tag,
I
yeah.
think one thing you had to remove.
Yeah, and I had to fix that 45 days, which wasn't there for
And
some
that's-
reason. Okay, so now I've got this looking exactly the way I want it to look. Just review it. Like you said, you don't want to have to go back or have them tell you it's incorrect. So now I'm gonna send it to them. And here in the subject line, I always put some kind of recognizable wording here so that when I come back to this email or I come back to this envelope, I know what I was sending. So you can be like really specific.
DigiSign used to automatically put the property address in the
Mhm.
email subject line field.
So since we're the agent, we are supposed to be signing that here with some signature, right? We
It'll
don't have
ask
anything
you-
yet.
It'll ask you to sign once you send the.
So
Okay, so don't.
it's
sign
about to
anything
ask
now.
me.
Okay.
So when I press this button, it's gonna send it to that email address and it's gonna say, oh, your envelope's been sent. But I have to sign it because I'm the buyer's agent, so I take the opportunity right now to sign it. You have to agree to e-signatures. I don't have to read through this because I've already know what it says. Hopefully they're reading through it, but they're probably not. So that's why you have to make sure you explain it to people. Select what kind of signature you want. And it just takes them to the next, that's the problem with this. It just takes people to the next place they're supposed to sign. And sometimes people don't actually read it, which is not great, but in the interest of technology and time, it's good, but. So I'm done signing. But see, only 1 out of 2 of us have signed it because I've also sent it to the buyer. So I'm just gonna go in my emails over here and sign it. It says I have documents to sign, buyer's agency and working with real estate agents. For Ben Buyer.
Okay, now.
And you can do,
question.
they can do it on their phone. I mean,
Okay.
most people can. You definitely run into some people that think they can't, but they can.
So after you sign this, now you're going into your email because you're also the buyer, so you're. looking
Yeah,
at
for the purpose of this activity.
Do you download the signed documents or just say I'm done?
There's no reason to because it
Because it's not
isn't
signed.
fully signed.
Yeah, so. you
Not
should-
yet. Yeah, it's not signed yet.
It will email you when it's complete.
So I'm just signing as Ben
Mhm.
for the purpose of this activity. And I can do it all on my phone and so can they, using your finger. Now it's obviously kind of hard to read these on your phone, but again,
So see, Allison's already done. So if she were the buyer, she could do it in less than a minute, just like
Yeah.
she did. If you've already explained everything.
yeah. So let's see if this will
Refresh.
refresh. I don't know if it will or not. I think it will. Yeah. So I completed it on my end. And so now it's showing as completed in here. Okay.
And you're still in
It's
forms.
still in forms. So now I've got all my documents completed that I want to for this activity. And now I need to create a transaction in Skyslope to put these forms into a file in Skyslope.
For
So
compliance,
for
me.
compliance for Amanda. So I go back up here to that little app thing and I click back to Skyslope.
So I'm behind you, but signs my body. And so now what do I do?
Go back up to the little dots in the corner.
She's get out of DigiSign.
She's
Go
on
back
a
to
document. Why are you
Oh.
on a document though?
She's signed.
Because I
She actually
signed.
sent it to her.
I sent it to myself and signed.
Then just go on the bottom.
Yeah, you have to go to the bottom of this to be.
Okay, make sure I followed it. Okay. And then we'll take you out. So now we learn by doing.
That's fine. All right, I'm gonna go slow, but you'll eventually get back to Skyslope in the little app section.
Are you on the view page or?
Is anybody else doing it or is it just Catherine doing it? Are you doing it?
I got to, basically saving it as a draft, and then I was gonna ask you a couple. questions
Okay,
before I-
that's fine.
Before I carried on and accidentally said.
Oh, that's right, because you were doing it for an actual person. Okay, yeah, so.
So what she did is you could download it here, but she went, now she's about to put that.
Oh, I can see that Leslie was doing it and Catherine, because I can see everybody's files in here.
Okay, did you do a transaction?
Yes, so let me click out of this. Let me go back. Let me show you what I clicked on. So I'm creating a transaction now. I'm little plus sign. I'm adding a transaction to my Skyslope file. So
Yep.
it's showing me everybody's.
Yep, that's okay. Now you can only ever do this linking once.
Mm-hmm.
And it's when you
So this is
create a
important.
transaction or create a listing. And you are linking it to your forms file that you just worked in. And so you want that file to be named something recognizable,
Yeah.
and so you know exactly which one it is. And the file just has to be created. You don't have to have any forms or any envelopes done in it. It just has to be created in forms. And then it will continue link. Once you link it, it will update both from
Mhm.
both sides.
Yeah, so if you X out of here, then you're gonna end up putting everything in again, and it's not going to link to these documents that you've already had signed and all
Download,
that.
upload, and download.
So this is an important step here to making sure that you're saving yourself time, basically, and work. So the reason I can see all of y'all's is because of my access here, but I'm gonna pick the one that I did.
I could just put.
Yours was the
Is the
bad.
file name practice or
Yours
something?
was the bad bottom, but like
This is the file name.
I picked the one that was mine,
What do
though.
you call it?
you click on the Benjamin.
Oh, I had to
Click on
rename
No,
it.
you wanna click.
I had to rename it because I accidentally did it twice and it wouldn't
Oh,
let
okay.
me have the same.
Again.
Thank you for
Okay, no,
that.
Oh, you
Sorry,
just
I
had
don't
like a
select
whole
myself.
page a second ago,
Uh-huh.
where it had our listings on it.
Yeah,
So mine said Ben Buyer. I
Uh-huh.
already had the file set for him,
Uh-huh.
or I have to
no, just select that one.
select that.
Select that one, yeah.
You're
Yours
just
should only have one. Or if you've been in files before and created other files, then you're gonna have other ones, but it, for this, if you've only done this one time, it should only have this one that you just created. Okay, so now it's going to start asking you, now most people don't create a transaction until they've got something under contract. Okay, so you would have a lot of this information if the property was under contract. For this, we're just gonna be filling in some dummy information because we don't have a property. But remember that part where I said like, oh, look up the MLS number? That was the important part that was gonna kind of autofill a lot of this stuff for you because it's connected to the file. So don't skip that step either. That's gonna save you time when you're creating the transaction. But today we're gonna just put in some stuff that's gonna help us move forward, because this program does not let you move forward to the next step unless you've filled out everything it wants you to fill out. And Amanda's gonna tell us what's like the really important stuff that needs to be filled out
Very
correctly, which is very little.
So if you fill it in the left over here, it's not gonna autofill anything.
Well, your form's already done. You don't
Yeah.
need
Okay.
autofill in this part of the process. But what she's saying is that everything with a red dot.
It
is
makes you
considered
put
required.
something there, yeah.
But the key to this also is everything's changeable later. You can edit this at any point.
Okay.
So you can put in whatever you want just to get through the steps.
Yeah,
Okay, so you could put in a 000.
yeah.
Oh, yes,
Mhm.
you can put in
Yeah.
NAs, you can put in zeros. The price does, you have to put in 1 or greater.
Mhm. You
The
do
year
have to,
built, you have to put in 1 or
yeah.
greater, so you do have to, there's some parameters.
okay. And it'll tell you when you try to go to the next, if you didn't do it right or not enough, it'll tell you. You do have to select, the kind of property. And then it makes you select the subtype. This isn't, some of these are important, Amanda, because doesn't it help with creating your
The property
checklist?
type and
Yeah.
subtype, well, no, this doesn't.
Oh,
but
this
the Property
doesn't.
type and subtype do transfer all the way into zone later,
Mhm.
for your permanent record. The checklist type, which is in the next column, is the important piece.
Mhm.
because
So-
it creates your checklist. You
Yeah,
can also edit that again, and if you choose the wrong checklist, let's say you pick a North Carolina and not a South Carolina or vice versa, you can go back and change it again, but it will erase everything you've done in the checklist. If you worked in it.
so I'm gonna pick North Carolina residential buyer,
Mhm.
because that's who this person is.
Mhm.
That's already filled out. My representation is purchase, where's purchase? Oh, yeah, it's the first one, because that's usually what you're putting. Okay, and now it wants to know what the closing date is. Again, if we don't have a property, we can just pick any date we want.
Representation is important because you'll see on the 3rd tab, you'll know if it's wrong or not, because it'll ask you for the compensation. And it'll pick which side of the deal.
Okay, so let's see if I filled them all out. Oof,
No,
your build is not that valid. Let me put a different year.
Got through.
It's always exciting when you get to the next one.
Wrong.
Okay, this is my most dreaded pain because I hate putting in all this information, but we have to do it.
Okay.
But again, we're
Now-
just gonna put,
but if you had, but doesn't it autofill some of it from
mhm,
forms.
yes, it will fill
the
in
buyer?
the buyer's name.
You can't. get
It
to
won't even let me look at that until I put something in.
Right.
It's,
But
yeah.
if you're filling out a contract in forms and then you fill out your transaction, it'll bring in the sale.
So I just only fill out what's red dot required. And you have to click save. And look, it gave me a little green check mark. Isn't that nice? So now it'll let me click on the next one. Oh, it's already got my buyer's information in here because it pulled it from the file. I have to put a phone. Let's see if it will accept this phone number. It will. Have to click off of that. This is the part that's a little wonky, Amanda, because it doesn't give me the save button until I click that edit button. Because you have to click save in order for it to give you the green checkbox here. So sometimes this is just one of those things where you have to finesse it. You have to figure out how it likes to work.
Practice.
Practice, that's why we're doing this. But yeah, sometimes I feel like I have to click that edit button and then click save, even though it'll let me edit.
I have a trick on this tab.
Okay, this trap. Tell us the trick, Amanda.
Okay, on title and attorney. The trick is scroll all the way to the bottom.
Mm-hmm.
You only have to fill out one of the sections. The
Uh-huh.
very bottom section only has first and last name required. And I usually just NA it. I don't care what attorney you're working with. So
If
to
you
get-
do know who it is, then put it in there. But again, I just put the name. This isn't even a first and last name. This is just the name of the
company.
company I use, but just in order to give me the save button. Let's see if it gave me a green check mark. Ooh, green check mark. Again, we don't have this info yet. I'm gonna put NA. But again, typically you'd be doing this where you'd have all of this information because it would be under contract and you'd know who the other agent is and you'd probably had selected an attorney. So,
So reasons why you would fill out everything accurately. Allison,
mhm.
to come back and look at it later to know quickly who you worked with.
I'd also, I believe when you add like attorneys and things in here, it saves it to the system's contacts. So you could always drop down and like easily insert those people's information in here. I know that sometimes the firm might like to have that information if something happened with the deal, or maybe you had a tragic accident and we had to close this deal and you weren't here and we needed this information. That would be another good reason to fill it out.
It's usually on.
Yeah.
A lot of times though, this is these are tracking
Mhm.
metrics for
Yeah,
you.
data.
For, let's say you do 20 transactions in a year and you want to know how many of them were with a certain attorney or a certain lender.
You could go back
Right.
in and look.
I'm not-
Is on the phone. Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, if you're just really into tracking your data and, reviewing your business from the year prior, you'd like to see maybe if you had a lot of transactions, who did you do business with?
Instead of
What
going back and
agents did you
looking
have
in
cross
the
sales
forms.
with? Yeah. I mean, I try to be as complete with the information as I can. I don't mean for you guys to think to always put NA, like, it's just for today because we don't really know it. I will tell you the phone numbers, I just put 0000 because I don't feel like looking up people's phone numbers. Okay, I got a green check box on that one. Oh, you know who we're putting in here, guys.
So for this, you don't.
However, you can always click this little button up here that says cash deal and you don't have to enter them.
And that's not gonna mess you up, is it?
No.
You'll just know we're saving time.
Yes,
Okay.
or it might actually be a cash deal, but yes, it doesn't matter. I can always look at your HUD or CD later and know exactly who was part of this transaction.
All the green checks. We love it. So once you get all the green checks, it's not going to give you this button until you've gotten all the green checks over here. Now it's going to let you move to the next,
The last.
the last
Entry.
phase. Okay. So here is where you would fill out the sales price. So that. Is this a personal deal? Meaning, are you purchasing this home? Then it would be a personal deal. Otherwise, it's not. It makes you put in the commission that you're expecting to receive on this deal, which would be what was advertised in the MLS, unless you've made a different arrangement. There's a form for that. Confirmation of compensation. Red dots are all filled out. Now, if you're doing like a referral with somebody else and you're owing somebody a referral fee, there's a section here where you can
You don't
notate that.
have to fill this out with the referral information because I do ask you for the referral form later in the checklist. However, you can, and again, this is for tracking purposes.
Mm-hmm.
I don't need it here though.
If you were splitting this commission with another agent, you could put it here. This is all a way to tell Amanda your intentions with the commission and what you should be earning and what you expected to get from this transaction.
But the only required area is that sale commission line.
Yeah, here,
And it shows sale commission, not listing commission, because when you picked transaction type,
buyer.
you clicked purchaser.
Yeah, you don't know what the listing agent's compensation is going
And
to
if
be.
you clicked both in that drop down, then it would give
Mhm.
you both required commission.
Do I need to say, I'm a mentor, so 30% would go to the.
You don't have to put
Oh,
it here. It's gonna go on the closing transaction form
Just the,
anyway.
okay.
Okay, and then this is where it all comes together. This is your list of required documentation that you're going to need to close out this transaction. So if it's red, that means you need to upload it to this.
Or it
file.
might already be in there because
I'm going to show you how it might already be in here. We got a lot of reds. Yes, this is the the famous checklist.
Gotcha.
So let's say, oh, it's asking me for the working with real estate agents form. So let's attach that form. But the beauty of this whole working together system here is that you've already got the form right here in the file because you connected this to your file you created in the forms and DigiSign section. So it's already right here. And so I'm just going to click assign. Now, if it wasn't right here, I would have probably saved it on my computer and my downloads or wherever you save documents, or maybe Google Drive or wherever you have it, you could upload it as well. But this just saves time. You've already got the forms there.
you'll
Is really
probably have
thinking
to
about it.
upload some document
Yeah.
at some point, because you'll get the contract back from the seller agent.
Yeah, you'll have to upload some forms. So look, now it's yellow. That means I've put something in this file, but it's not green because Amanda hasn't looked at it yet. She hasn't approved it yet. So once it turns green, that means she's looked at it, it's correct, and then it will turn green. So as you can see, there's a lot of things you have to put in here, that buyer's agency. But I've already got that as well, so I'm going to click attach. I've only got one more I can assign, so I'm going to assign that. Now, had we had a whole bunch of other documents that we had them sign, those would be listed there as well to assign to this transaction.
You can only assign a document once to one checklist item. However, you can attach multiple documents to each checklist item. Let's say you revised your buyer agency.
Mhm.
You can just attach the new one.
Yes, that's why the attach button is still there.
You can attach 20 documents to a checklist item.
If you want to see what you already attached, you click on this little paper clip and it'll show you, oh, well, here's what you already have in here, so that you don't attach the same thing.
And so if we, let's say we did revise it for some reason because we forgot to check dual agent, now we're dual agent, whatever. And we attach it, do we delete the other one?
You don't have to. You
Okay,
can, but
you'll
you
know
don't have
that
to.
the most recent one's okay.
Also, if you want
It'll
to
show.
talk to Amanda through here, you can type in comments here in this section and she sees what you type in here. So for example, let's say the property isn't in the MLS, so there's no MLS sheet to attach to this property. You would type in here, no, not listed in the MLS, to explain why you can't put anything there, and then you would save it, and then Amanda would see that and she would understand.
You
So-
can either attach just a blank document or a dummy document, or you can wait until I go and require that.
Yeah, she can change it from red to blue, like it's not required. And here is where this is a really important final form that most people add, which is that closing transaction form, which, remember, way back at the beginning of this, we found in the working documents section. So you would need to fill that out, save it, and then upload it right here.
And I don't care what format it's in. If you just do a screenshot and upload, a JPEG, or if you do the printed PDF and upload the PDF, it doesn't matter.
Okay. Do you have anything else to add to this?
The CD there at the end, so go back to closing documents. At the end of your transaction, you will want to upload the signed closing disclosure, whether it's a HUD, whether it's an ALTA, whether it's a CD. And it does have to be the signed version. So don't give me the one the lender sends that
Is for review.
done for review.
Right.
Send me the
Yeah.
one that is signed, that the attorney, that's done, that's from the attorney.
For
Wow.
example, like the way I organize my documents is I put them in Google Drive and I name them, by like the person and the property. So when I needed to upload that CD, I would come here, I would open this up, I would find it, and then I would attach it. See, I have it in here.
And that's the most important document of everything,
Mhm.
because that is what the client will use for their taxes going forward. That is what you need to have in your file pretty much forever.
Mhm.
Because it does have the commission on there. It does have every single thing that happened.
Every money that everybody got is on there.
So you keep that in your Google Drive, is where you. keep
That's how I
all
organize
the ones
mine,
that-
yeah,
that
but
list. So when you get all that information from the attorney, and I did it 20 years ago, we had all these papers, and we just dropped off all these files to the office, right? But we don't get papers from the attorney anymore, he gives you an email with all these forms.
it depends on the attorney. Some of them, when they mail your check, they include a paper copy of this document. Some attorneys send you an email when it's recorded and they attach the CD to that email.
Does Southern Law still give you a flash drive?
They give the clients
They
that.
give the client, they don't give you one.
They send me an email and the CD is attached to
Okay.
the email.
And then you just save that.
Southern.
I
Law-
prefer that because I'm trying to like live a paperless life.
Right.
And so I don't like it when they mail them, because then I still feel like it's important and I should keep it. Like that's the mental thing in my head. But as long as I have it digitally and I'm backing up my computer and I'm putting it in Skyslope, it's gonna be there. You should have all of these documents saved to your files somehow, but Skyslope is the fail safe. Like, well, if you can't find it, it's gonna be in Skyslope because you were required to upload it in order to get paid your commission check. And that's why Amanda, we need her so badly. She makes sure that she's keeping us all straight and we're being compliant. and
But
having
you
all
as
of our
an
forms.
agent for record retention,
Mhm.
for, by the rules of the real estate commission, you need to keep copies
Yeah,
for so many years. So let's say you move firms 3 times, you need to have everything, even when you left. The CD's the biggest thing. The agency agreements are the next biggest thing.
so now that I've messed around in there, I've added some things. Obviously, it's not done because I still have a bunch of red things that need to turn green. I usually don't do that all in one day. That's a process, right? So whenever I need to work on my transactions, I come here, back to the homepage, and I click on my transactions, and
You can
then,
Also click on the numbers at the top that takes you there.
yeah, like I said, there's different ways to get to different things.
On the dashboard page.
And here's what she was saying, like you can go in here and go back and change the information and all these sections here.
See,
if
like
you
under
need
street
to.
name, it put the number and street name. You can always.
Yeah.
Edit.
But always come back to the checklist to upload your documents. Okay.
And if I'm reviewing your files and there's an issue and I want you to fix something and I put in a note, I will send you an email with that note. So you don't have to go back in and look. I will send you an email with a note. Please,
Upload.
or a missed initial on 10A. but
Yeah, we're checking to make sure everything's also initialed properly, signed properly, all of that. So,
And if I receive your commission check and your file's not complete, I will send you a note. Commission received, please finish the file. Or
So how does it work then, when you said the attorney sends you the CD with your check, but it's from you, it comes to Amanda at.
it comes to the office.
the CD, the paperwork goes to the agent, right?
Mhm.
Because the attorney only has the agent as the
Right,
contact.
right, okay.
Um,
Buyer them.
I prefer.
Yeah,
most-
it's better
I
if they
prefer
wire.
Attorneys wire, and the wire instructions are in working docs too. Do you want to
Okay.
point that out
Oh, yeah.
So
again?
you would just
Just ask
get
them to-
that and email it over to the attorney.
Ideally, when you are providing information to the attorney, they will ask you for all your agent information.
Is it this one, Amanda?
No, it's second to the last one. And they will ask, how do you want your commission? And you can get it by check, you can get it by wire, you can get it, they will say mail the check or pick up the check or wire. A lot of these attorneys are really nice and do not charge to wire to us, which is wonderful. And you would just provide them with this simple sheet right here. Sometimes they ask you to fill it out while you're at closing. Sometimes they'll accept just the sheet, you hand it to them.
Mhm.
If they do not wire and they only will provide a check, you have some options. You can either go pick up the check and bring it to us, or you can pick up the check and deposit it at Pinnacle Bank and let me know. The account number that's on our wiring instructions here right in the middle is our account number that you can deposit to. You can deposit anything into anybody's account at a bank if you have the account number. You don't have to be a signer. Thirdly, you could just ask the attorney to mail it to us, and you just tell them, yes, office address.
The slowest and most unreliable way to get it.
It doesn't matter, we do check the mail at Wesley Chapel, but for you, fastest procedure might be to have it mailed here.
Or pick it up. I like
Go
picking
pick it
up
up.
commission checks.
Right.
I mean, after all that hard work, you're like, I get to go pick up this
If you pick it up and deposit it yourself or hand it to Allison and Allison tells me, then I will go ahead and process your commission payment once I know it's in our hands. It doesn't have to clear or anything. Like, we'll handle that in the back end. I will give you your commission.
So, do we have more questions than when we started or less questions?
Definitely more.
Some of you have done this before. I'm sure you've been through this
Yeah, I
process.
just have one quick question that, I'm expecting actually a reimbursement, so it's not a transaction, but it's going to be a check.
Mhm.
So what do I do with it other than?
Oh, a client's reimbursing you for
Yeah,
something
because
you
it's in the
paid
house of the
for,
Market, and I just like at this point, so I just make him pay my expenses.
like a retainer fee kind
Yeah,
of situation.
Yeah, it's I just put it in, when we were taking the house of the Market, I just put it in that document that he's reimbursing me. But there's a section that if whether he has to pay me anything or not, I'm just
Mhm.
letting him off the hook, but I wanted him to pay me.
Mhm.
Because I put in a lot, and so he's reimbursing me, and he's supposed to give me a check for the firm's name by end of this month. So other than give it to any of you,
Mhm.
what do I do? Because it's still gonna go to the firm.
It's gonna go to the firm.
And
If
I,
it's-
it's just like, I'm not sure what documents I have, because I don't think there's really a document for that.
Let me get back to you
Okay.
about that and we can talk about
A
it.
special
personally.
situation.
Yeah,
Yeah, I wanna tell her some details.
Okay.
yeah, thank you.
Sure.
Anybody else have any questions they've thought of over the last hour and a half? We've been doing this. Yeah, okay.
Did we cover everything?
But again, that's a good example. There's always special circumstances, situations. That's the beauty of real estate. Nothing's ever exactly the same. So if you think you have a special situation where you're not sure if you need to create a transaction or what you need to put in there, come to us or email us, call us, text us, and we will let you know what needs to be.
Ask your
Uplift.
mentor first.
Mhm. Yes.
Ask your mentor first. That's
Yes.
what they're there for.
Yeah.
Are there any forms you want Allison to pull up and take a look at in particular while we're in there?
I don't have a form, but I did have a question really
Mhm.
quick. So when you're setting up, say you have a referral and you go and you're gonna create the transaction.
Mhm.
Where you have all the information, I mean, you can put in the information on the person's house and stuff like that, but where it has the,
This is another example where you can just zero or NA
just NA on everything.
pretty
Okay.
much everything.
Mhm.
Just make sure that will you go to a transaction tab. Just make sure no, go to the first tab again. And scroll down just a little bit. Okay, your checklist type, bring that drop down, the second one.
Checklist type.
You're going to here put other. Okay, here will be other.
Yeah, and you
You
don't,
don't want to change it now. but
right, right.
Other only has like maybe 1 or 2 required fields. And then under type representation, will you click that one? This one, scroll down, there should be referral. Okay, here's where referral is. And that's just going to communicate over to zone for your permanent record, what type it is. But the checklist will obviously change the checklist. And then the type labels the transaction.
I guess it didn't change this
And the
check.
reason we still put in a transaction for it is because there's still money being received. And so in zone, in your permanent record in there, I can still then attribute that commission to you because you're making money as an agent. And so it'll add to your bottom line and it'll tabulate correctly for your 1099. So it'll still show everything you've earned.
Yeah, that's a good reminder that all of these systems are interlaced, interconnected. This is connected to zone. It's connected to everything you do here at Realty One Group and all your production and all the money you earn here. So just keep that in mind. That's why it's actually pretty cool the way it's all connected.
And then referrals, even if you put in the actual purchase price, I'm gonna change it back to 0 because we don't give you production credit for referrals.
Mhm.
Because then you could do 10 referrals a year and it would be $2 million and we don't let you.
But you just
take
collect the
credit
check,
for
which is great. I encourage you to do that. That's the easiest money you can make, but.
Okay.
Okay, well, that's all we have for today. But that was a good reminder. If you are a mentee and you're having questions or struggling with any of this, that's the first person to ask, and that's what they're there for, to help you with. But if it's like some special circumstance that they can't give you an answer, then you can come to myself or
Oh, yes.
Amanda.
I'm always available. Your broker, who's usually Andrea, sometimes Allison, is always available.
Cool. Well, thanks for coming today, guys. I'm pleased with how many made it out today. Yay.
And I have a different question.
Oh, yeah.
Not Skyslope,
Sure.
but I can't remember. Did you have like buyer packages and seller packages somewhere available? Like.
With what in it?
What?
What would be in it? Like paperwork
Like
or?
kind of like, I don't know about.
Marketing
It had to
materials?
be- I don't know, like something about that.
I've got.
Like that I can either add to my,
Mm-hmm.
if I have, sometimes I feel like if I need to create something.
Like a little
Then
advertising
happen.
thing for yourself?
But kind of when you meet let's say like a potential buyer
Mm-hmm.
or even a seller.
Mm-hmm.
And, we used to have that with other companies, just like.
Folders that we
Kind of
could
like, and I
sell,
don't remember.
Yeah.
but you would put your own stuff on.
That'll be good.
Good luck this weekend.
And then I just remember.
Well,
It's like, I'll
I would
ask you.
first point you in the direction of Creative Design Studio, because then you could create exactly what it is that you are envisioning, and personalize it to yourself. So, I mean, you could create a
Do you
flyer.
use anything like that? Or do you?
I include a few things, like if I'm doing a listing appointment, I mean, I have a whole binder of things that I'm bringing to a listing appointment to kind of support the person's understanding of what it is I do and the company that I work for.
Yeah, that's why something I like, I mean.
The listing presentation is in here and it's editable. Is there a buyer presentation too? I think it's at the bottom called prospect guides.
I started looking at setting one of those up.
So here's a buyer presentation. Now, I'll warn you, these are long. They're 35 pages long.
I mean, you don't have to.
But
do
you
all
can
that,
take
right?
out
You can just
pages.
click on- Yeah.
Yeah, you can find the ones you like.
Mhm. That's what I was like, just like something that is like almost like a template. and I
Yes,
personalize
that's
it,
exactly what this is.
pick pages that I like or
Mm-hmm.
whatever.
So, I mean, you can like this page here,
And I can just make like a folder binder
Mhm.
for them that it.
create what you like. Yeah. And you can have this printed, like you can send it to Express Docs and make it all shiny and
Yeah, that's
fancy if
what
you
I
want
like.
to. But, just make sure you finalize what it is you want, and then, you could order like a bulk amount of them, like 20 or something.
And
This is Creative Design Studio.
I don't
So
think
this
I have
is
this one, yeah.
It's the.
Yeah, that listing, every time I pull this up, it is a little daunting because it's so long. And you do have to go in there and type in what you want to say about yourself, you
Quickly
know,
delete them.
yeah,
You don't want.
pages, yeah.
Or delete pages or just pick.
Where do you go to delete?
So you would you'd create design like you're
Mhm.
doing, and then on the left hand, the pages are just there as little
Oh,
trash
so like
bucket
that,
next to the ones. So you don't have to keep all 33, you can
Yeah.
weed it down.
But
to
I'm not
10.
deleting anything from the main.
No,
No.
no, because every time you're taking, just like in Canva, you take your template and you make a new, take your template again, make a new one, take your template again, make a new one.
Cause you may have told me like, but when I joined, I was in the transaction, so I had to focus on the transaction.
Yeah.
And all the new things, then it's like everything is just a blur, so.
Sweet. Yeah.
I see. So how do you delete? Oh, delete. Yeah, so they're all just over here. Like if I don't want this one, I mean, that's a pretty cool one.
The border too, that's the.
Or you can just delete her, when you hover over.
Programs in place.
Now, see, it already put in my name and my picture, but I have to go down here and fix what I want it to say. I like that page, so I don't want to delete that page.
Good intro.
Oh, and I have another question.
So here's where you would delete it. You would just
Yeah, when you hover
click
over.
trash can. Yeah.
That's good, thank you.
And we'll do a train, I mean, we do training on this every few months, so, you know, we'll revisit that. And obviously, there's tons of training videos in One University. If you're specifically interested in learning more about Creative Design Studio, they already have great trainings on it in there, if you want to use it like tomorrow.
Where do I find that?
You can go to,
Training.
yes, the One University. And then if you're particularly interested in that, you just search it. Well, I'm showing her the videos to learn how to use Creative Design Studio. So, yeah, design with, I mean, look how many videos there are about it. So, yeah. Well, it's not gonna tell you how to design every single thing in there. It's just gonna teach you, yeah, generally how to use it.
Yeah, that's, and,
Absolutely.
can I ask?
Of course.
So I told
This
her
is a
to
good
contact-
opportunity to
Okay.
ask questions.
So when Logan sends those,
Side of it.
newsletters.
Uh-huh.
I totally forgot because I didn't do it for 1 month,
Uh-huh.
and it's like basically 2 months.
Uh-huh.
of that, and I forgot, how do I do that in place my picture, because I tried to do it and it wouldn't let me. So optimize it, cause it's just not
Okay.
straightforward, and it's like, oh damn, I skipped like
Sure.
a whole month, that makes it 2 months, and I just like, I don't.
I'll briefly show it to you. I do have an appointment at 12 o'clock today. We were supposed to meet, but I'll call you and I'll come to you tomorrow or something.
So many things. I could ask you. Like, I have a checklist of 1,000.
That's why I want us to have some time. So
Right.
I'll
But
call
you
you
can-
and I'll call you.
Yes.
We need to plan some one-on-one time.
I think I have.
But I'll show you briefly,
Okay.
okay?
Yeah, do you have time for that? Sorry.
Well, do you want to look there or you want to look here?
I probably will be helpful. Another thing is super space. I would like to know how to share that. So I got an email out, but I'd like to share it in Facebook or something.
So you have to go to One Suite, first of all. Bye, Brittany.
Bye.
Very excited.
Which is, you know, the CRM. So you know that part, right? To go to One Suite?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm gonna type it down so I don't,
Great.
because it's not something that I do every day, especially.
I know, you
That's why I
forget.
totally forgot.
Yeah, exactly. I understand.
Keeping 1 month, it made it
Yeah, they
every
did
2
that.
months, I was like, I don't.
Who just like
So you go one.
jumping
One Suite,
They are, they're lapdog.
and then you're gonna click on marketing.
They're.
Yeah, I did that and I
Uh-huh.
clicked on the newsletter
Yep.
and I was
Yep.
trying to, so I remember some.
So you remember to get here.
Yes.
Okay. So what you're gonna do is you're gonna find the one here that's generic. It just says January real estate news. So this is the one that Logan and I make.
Yeah.
But it's already got my information in there because we gotta put something in there.
I did. Grew up.
So you're gonna click this little box here. Check the box. And then you're gonna click copy. Because right now you're looking at all of the company letters. You need to make this an agent letter, your own personal letter.
Yes.
So you check the box
Yeah.
and then you press copy. Okay,
Not quite.
so now it's presenting to you a way to customize it for you. What I do right away is I put January real estate news from Allison Grant. And I just go ahead and save it right now. I haven't changed anything else. And then I go over to agent letters and I make sure it came over to my agent letters. So see how it's listed there now? I've done this several times, so that's why I have so many January newsletters.
Oh, really?
But that's the one I just made at the top.
They had.
So once you copy it and save it, it should be listed here under your agent letters, okay?
And then you just click on it.
So if I want to make changes to this one, I'm gonna click on this little edit button here. And you have to go here to the editor,
What you have, man, it's hard to say.
and this is where you can change things. So you're saying here it wouldn't let you change this picture?
But I didn't go through these steps.
Okay.
So like I missed the very first step, the copy.
Oh, yes. If you don't put it into
And I was
your,
And then I
you can't
remember-
change it, right?
Yes,
But this image, it was so
Yes,
easy.
yes.
I remember it was super easy
Uh-huh.
after, but if I missed the very first step.
If you missed one step,
So I was
yeah.
like, oh God, so, and then I just changed the picture. and
Yeah, so
then-
you look for your
and name.
picture, whichever one you want here, change the name and phone number. I'm gonna find find the picture you want. So I'm not gonna go through all that, but you need to change the information here, right?
Okay.
Oh, and also, this little bar right here is basically where they will go if they click on your picture.
Yes.
So you want to make sure you put your website address there, not mine. You don't want anything to say me, you want it to say your name,
And
okay?
then at the end, you just do save it and then it will be, and then I can.
Then it'll give you the option to send it to people when you click
Yeah,
the
I've done
email.
it.
And we can take some time and go through it again. I believe we did a training on it. It might be recorded. When I did this training on how to send this newsletter,
Oh,
it
yes.
was Zoom.
Yes, it should be in our.
I'm gonna end the Zoom that I'm on all this time.
I saw that down there. I was like, she's still recording.
I'm still recording.
Oh,
I think I can.
Yeah. Okay, goodbye.